Okay, guys, we're on to our last determinant of hepatic clearance, which is the fraction unbound in plasma, which you guys, I'm sure, are well aware of now. And what are the determinants of fraction unbound in plasma? Well, you know they are the number of plasma protein binding sites available, N total, and the KD, which is the concentration where half of those are full, and the concentration, if you remember from our volume and protein discussions. Okay, now we're going to get into a new concept here. It's called restrictive clearance. So this is when the clearance of a drug is limited or restricted to only unbound or free drug. So in other words, and this is true actually for all drugs, so only free drug is available to interact with an enzyme to be metabolized. So only free drug can be metabolized. So clearance is restricted to only the unbound molecules of the drug. Therefore, if there's a change in protein binding, if your fraction unbound increases, meaning there's more free drug available, then it will be available for clearance when it was not before. And if the drug becomes more highly protein bound, then the drug will less of the drug will be available for metabolism by the enzymes. So only free drug is able to be metabolized. That's what restrictive clearance means. Non-restrictive clearance is when the clearance of the drug is not limited or restricted to unbound or free drug. I should have showed you on this last slide. See how I said here that E is less than or equal to fraction unbound? If our extraction ratio is limited by only the free drug, so if our extraction ratio is less than or equal to our fraction unbound, that shows that it's restrictively cleared, because you can't extract or clear any drug that is bound, so only the fraction unbound is available. If our E is greater than our fraction unbound, that means it's extracting more than is free, and that is then no longer restrictive clearance. So this is a way, this equation here is how you can tell, or this relationship tells you that it's restrictively cleared. But non-restrictive, So non-restrictive clearance is when the clearance is not limited to the unbound drug. So here, this happens when the extraction ratio is larger. So more drug is being extracted than is free. So these are all high extraction drugs, high liver extraction drugs. So changes in protein binding will not alter the availability of the drug for clearance. So non-restrictive are high extraction drugs, which we'll talk about again in a minute, and restrictive are low extraction drugs. Oh, I forgot to erase. Okay. So when we have non-restrictive clearance, it's like the liver sees it all as being free. So any of the drug, whether it's bound or unbound, all of the drug is available. As far as the liver enzymes are concerned, they're all available for clearance. So that's why I say the liver sees. Now, obviously, the liver doesn't see things, but the liver enzymes considers all of the drug, whether it's bound or unbound, available for clearance. So even if it is bound to a protein, it is not protecting it from being cleared. Now, drug is not actually being stripped away or pulled away from the protein, but it's so highly attracted to the enzyme. So the drug-enzyme relationship is so strong that the unbound drug is being rapidly metabolized, and it looks like it's being stripped from the drug or from the protein, but it's not. So here's our tug-of-war model. So the drugs are all, or there's a tug-of-war for this free drug between the enzyme and the protein. So the drug and the protein are in a reversible relationship. That free drug can be bound to a protein, then it can become unbound to a protein, so now it's free. Then it could move over and interact with an enzyme, and then it could stop interacting with the enzyme. But once it's interacted with the enzyme, it will go on to becoming the metabolite, and then the enzyme would go back and maybe metabolize another drug. So everybody's pulling on this free drug to either become bound to a protein, and then this will protect it if it's restrictive clearance. Think of the protein as protecting that free drug. But if it becomes unprotected, then it's available to be metabolized by interacting with that enzyme. Sorry. So in restrictive clearance, you can think of the protein winning the tug of war on the, free drug. I don't know why that, okay, sorry. So the free drug that's a tug of war on, the protein's winning in this case because the protein protects. I think of the protein as a big honking protein that the drug molecule is bound to, and if it's interacting with that protein, it cannot interact with the enzyme. So it protects it from metabolism. That's in restrictive clearance. And this is for low extraction drugs. In non-restrictive clearance, the protein does not protect. It doesn't protect. The protein is not able to protect the drug from the enzyme and therefore metabolism. Non-restrictive clearance happens with high E drugs only, because there's such a strong attraction between the enzyme and the drug that it pulls the whole thing this way. All right, I am going to add another little, that's not what I want. I want another little whiteboard. Can I do a whiteboard here? I don't do a whiteboard enough to be able to figure out how to do it. Okay, so here's a whiteboard. So here's my little analogy. You know how I like to do little analogies. The analogy is, let's say you're in a towny bar in Findlay. So in Findlay, I'm sure that there's some college bars and there's some towny bars. So in Findlay, let's say, and I forget what the one is in Findlay, you guys have told me before, but let's go to a towny bar. You know what a towny bar is. It's really like not really for college kids. And there was one in Ada when I went to undergrad at Ohio Northern. It was a million years ago, but there was a college bar and there was a towny bar. Now when you went into the towny bar, you had to kind of walk through this narrow area where there was a big bar. So there's a bar here, and you had to walk in through the door, and there was all these guys sitting on the stools here, and it was a little area, so you had to walk through here to get back into here where your friends are going to be. So there's actually tables back here. So this is how the towny bar was laid out. It was actually like this. Okay, so you had to walk in through the door, through the next to the bar to get to the back area where your friends are going to be. And as you walk by, of course, all these guys had to turn around and make comments about you. So if, let's just say, if with restrictive clearance, where you are, which happens with low extraction drugs, and you have you are protected by the protein. Let's say the protein is kind of like an engagement ring. Or maybe it's a pin if you're in a sorority or something like that. So let's say you have some sign that you are taken. Okay? So if you walk by and you have an engagement ring on, you are protected from, if you think of these guys on the stools as being enzymes. So if you have your engagement ring on, you are protected as you walk through here. Okay, that's called restrictive clearance. So only free drug can be, the only people that would be available for metabolism by these enzymes here are going to be free drug, or women without, or men without any sign of being taken. Okay, so same situation now. You still have the enzyme, you still have your ring on, but in this case, if you have, I'm going to just change the color so if you have non-restrictive clearance, where the extraction ratio is greater than the fraction unbound, so you're removing more than just free drug. This happens only with high extraction drugs. Now when you walk by here, it doesn't matter whether you have an engagement ring on or some sort of sign that you are taken. You are available for metabolism by these enzymes in any case. So that's kind of my silly analogy between restrictive and non-restrictive clearance as we think about this concept. And we're going to be applying that soon. All right, and that's the end of that.